I'm Allison from Learning at the Primary Pond. I'm a literacy specialist, and in this video we are going to talk about how to speed up or facilitate the orthographic mapping process for your students in order to improve their reading fluency and just overall reading skill. If you don't know what orthographic mapping is, no worries, I will explain that as well. So before we dive in though, if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to go ahead and do that now, and then also go ahead and hit the little bell so that you're notified every time I post a brand new video about teaching literacy in K2. Okay, so as I said, I will explain what orthographic mapping is. Now, orthographic mapping is a process that occurs in our brains or in the kids' brains when they're learning how to read. And it's the process of forming connections between letters and sounds to store those written words in memory. It also involves learning the spelling and the meaning of a word, and the end result of orthographic mapping is that a student will recognize a word automatically. So for example, at first kids might be sounding out the word can, and that's fine, but once it's like fully orthographically mapped, then they'll be able to read can instantly, okay? So that's what the definition is. We'll talk about why that's important in a moment, but on a scale from 1 to 3, I would love to know what your familiarity is with the concept of orthographic mapping. So 1 would be like, this is brand new to me, and 3 would be like, I'm a pro, like got this covered. Let me know on that scale of 1 to 3 in the comments where you are with orthographic mapping. Now, why does orthographic mapping matter, right? Like, why is this an area of focus? Why am I even making this video? Well, we want kids to recognize as many possible words by sight because that is what creates fluent reading, right? So when you are reading a novel or even just an email, you're not sounding out the words. You can just instantly recognize the words, and your brain is freed up to comprehend whatever text it is, whether it is literally like a short email or an entire novel, right? That is what we need to do in order to read, and that's what we're working toward with kids too. So, orthographic mapping, when this is happening, it's such a good thing because then the kids are able to read more easily. They can focus on comprehending the text, just an important part in the reading process. So then how do we get our kids to do this, or really how do we facilitate it or speed it up? We can't literally like make them orthographic map things in their brains, right? Like we can't go in their brains and do that for them. Although how nice would that be, right? There are things though that we can do to kind of speed up this process, facilitate it, move it along. So here is an example from my high frequency word focus sheets that we have in the Learning at the Primary Pond Teachers Pay Teachers store. Got these for the fry words and the dolch words as well. So lots of options there. You have an editable version too. And this sheet would be used after you've done some instruction on the word. So in your initial instruction, I'm not going to go too far in depth on this, but you want to be talking about what the word means, the letters in the word, how the letters connect to the sounds. And then after you've had that initial introduction and conversation, you can have the kids do one of these sheets to practice, okay? So, they're tracing the word, they're finding the word, they're learning to recognize it right here. Let me hold this up so you can actually see it better. On here, I'm not going to be able to show it because it would have to be done on a tabletop, but you have them put 3 counters or 3 little objects underneath each box, 1, 2, 3. And then this word is has, right? So sometimes pronounced has, like he has to do this or whatever. But anyway, they are going to push one little counter that they have under here into the box. So if they're saying it has, as, okay? And then next up, they're gonna write it in sound boxes. So they would write, this one's pretty basic because it's just 1 letter per sound, but if it was a word like look, you would still have 3 boxes. In the example of look, it would be L-O-O in the middle, 1 sound, 2 letters, but 1 sound, L-O-O-K. But for this one, has, it's pretty straightforward. I don't know how you're going to be able to see that very well, but it says H-A-S, okay? And so the reason why there's more here where they read it and they write it and they read sentences, but the reason why we're having them work with the sounds and the letters, even though this is a high frequency word that we want them to read quickly, is because this helps facilitate the orthographic mapping process. So whether or not we talk to them about the connections, oh yeah, like the H is saying, the A is saying ah, and the S often when we pronounce has is saying z, right? So we can talk to them about those connections to help facilitate the process. If we don't talk to them about those connections and we're just like, hey, memorize this word, it can often take a lot longer. This just speeds it up, right? Like this helping them make the connections. Another important piece of this is the meaning. So like that's why we're reading sentences. That's why I said in the initial instruction, we are also having them, you know, like talk about the meaning of the word. That plays into orthographic mapping as well. So that is this sheet. Okay, and again, these are in the Learning at the Primary Pond Teachers Pay Teacher store. Let's talk about a couple of other things that you can do to facilitate the orthographic mapping process. Okay, so this sheet that we just went over very much focused on the word in isolation, with the exception, of course, of these sentences at the bottom, but we want the kids to be rereading the words in context too, because remember, meaning plays into it, and then whenever they're rereading a word multiple times, that helps imprint it into their memory as well. So this is an example. It's actually from the same Teachers Pay Teachers resource, but in this example, the kids, they've actually been practicing words more than just has, and this little passage is kind of like bringing all the words they've been practicing in together. But so like here we have has, right? And in the passage, they're also going to see the word has, so they're getting to read it in context. Have them read the passage more than once, right? This will in turn, along with helping them make the connections between letters and sounds, help facilitate and speed up the orthographic mapping process. If you'd like to learn more about these high frequency word resources, also got games and other fun stuff, I will include a link below so you can check those out. Thanks so much for watching. I hope this was helpful. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.